Hello and welcome along to Fujitsu World Tour London. The theme of this year's event is driving a trusted future. The rapid evolution of new technologies, new ecosystems, new systems out there, it all adds to the mix, doesn't it? And it creates a few challenges. How do we deliver digital transformation, proving value back to the business? How do we delight our customers? How are we actually providing solutions for society at large? Well, we've got you back this year at Fujitsu World Tour. We're going to help you identify the mix of partner solutions and technologies needed to answer all of the above. And joining me to talk about workplace of the future, we're delighted to be joined by Nerys Mutlow, Head of Consulting and Professional Services EMEA at Fujitsu, and a regular face to some of our viewers. We're joined by Marcus Robbins, Head of Strategy and Portfolio. I love hypothesizing about the workplace of the future and what technology that we're going to see, but I guess it's not just technology that has to change, but maybe behaviors and beliefs too.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, most of the conversations we're having are completely not about technology now. They're about the outcome that they want to achieve within the business and the recognition that people are so important. We generally are all in services businesses, right? So financial services, citizen services, retail, IT services. And services businesses are people businesses. So people are absolutely at the core of everything you need to do. So when we talk about productivity and we talk about how we create the workplace of the future, it's much more about how do we create the workforce of the future enabled by the right technology. And that's quite a different approach, if you like, than you may have heard previously, but something that really resonates with us and is really, really resonating with our customers as well.
I know there was a research paper Marcus released back end of last year from PAC and Fujitsu Workplace 2025. It told us that the workplace was ever changing, new technology. Are we doing enough to enable our workforces though, or are we just giving them technology and hoping that they're going to figure it out?
I think there is a danger that we're just giving them technology. And we always tend to see that if you take what you're always doing and you apply new technology, you kind of get expensive ways of doing what you've always been doing. So what we're starting to see in a lot of our customers at the moment is them starting to adopt what we call new ways of working. So how can they actually use the technology to drive pretty much the two things they're trying to do with their employees? The first thing is to drive productivity, which leads to performance gains in the business overall. The second thing is it drives creativity. It frees people up from mundane tasks to do more creative work. And the creative work is what builds the organization of tomorrow. It builds their future market, their future customer base. So at the moment, we're seeing a shift in that direction. We're not seeing it wholesale. We are seeing a lot of projects which are founded on the basis of they need to update technology. And there are version and technology imperatives that drive that have to do that. But increasingly, we are seeing the mindset shift as organizations look for different ways to be more competitive.
Yeah, there's a good opportunity, isn't it, when they have to upgrade their technology to look at how they can maybe work a bit differently. I've just had a conversation downstairs around, can we incorporate this into email? And I said, well, why are you relying on email as your primary form of communication? So it would be much better now to look at how you could use a collaboration platform. For example, you could use much more, products like Yammer or Slack and the channels to actually broadcast out to people as opposed to sending emails all the time. So it's about, as Marcus was saying, working differently, but you need to think differently. You need to think about what is that employee doing in their role and how do we enable them with technology?
Who should be leading on this? I mean, is it down to the technology teams to source what employees need? Do boardrooms need to be more involved in the decision-making process? What do we think?
Well, I personally think it is a mixture of both. But the CIO needs to be the enabler of the business. And it's really, really important that they're not seen as the barriers. And if you look today, a lot of CIOs are losing a little bit of relevance, really. And that's because employees may go out and find some great technology, they come back into the CIO organisation and they say, no, you can't have that, right? It doesn't meet my policies, it's not on our on our strategy. And what happens is they go around that organisation. You get shadow IT, lots of risks around security, for instance. So what we need to do is help the CIOs and their department be more relevant, be enablers, right? And so they can bring the technology platforms, but working with actually much more of a consulting-led approach, right? Work with that business, understand what does somebody in a call centre need to do their job properly? What does somebody that's out in a field services environment need to do their job? And then show them how we can kind of enable it with the technology. Right. That then means that they become much more relevant, but they really need to understand and be much more empathetic, I would say, around each of those individual employees, because then they will be so much more strategically important back into their organisation.
Does that help them bring value back to the business? Because we know we've got employees that want to be enabled, they want to be more efficient through technology. How are we going to see that value coming back up to the boardroom to validate the investment?
I think you're going to have to plan it in from the front. So we work with a lot of customers to do that value mapping right up front. So we will look at an organisation's initiatives, look at their key objectives, and then look at the organisational capabilities that need to be in place to do that, including the technology capabilities, but there's people, process, and information. If you have that mapping defined and you can have clear, what we call clear sight to value in terms of those initiatives, you're able to register those things, you're able to monitor those things throughout the program delivery, particularly from the business perspective, and then use it as a way of checking you're in the right direction, maintaining your true north, if you like, in terms of your initiative. So things will change over time. You will always get things that change your program. The important thing is to make sure they're always mapped back to the objectives, and you can check in on those as you go.
Yeah, and we're not doing it because looking after people is a nice thing to do, and we should all be doing it anyway. But ultimately, it's because it does really impact the business, right? In terms of enabled people, engaged people are proven to deliver a better sort of service within their organisation. They're more innovative, they're more productive. That's going to show on your bottom line. That's going to be better revenue, better profit. And then some of the kind of surveys showed us that there's a lot of people where if they're disengaged, there's a big risk around defects, risks around kind of health and safety incidents as well. So you've got a kind of a big business and reputational risk as well by having kind of disengaged employees. So it's really super important when we talk about workforce transformation that we remember we are doing this because this is going to help your business grow and protect your business.
This has surely got to assist talent retention, resource recruitment.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things we talk about really is that organisations now, they're data companies, they're software companies, they're experience companies, and everybody is looking for those same sort of skill sets. So we hear how Marks and Spencer's want 1,000 of their retail staff now to be trained in data analytics, right? So you wouldn't necessarily have expected that. Now, data scientists and data analysts are in quite short supply, so it's really, really super important that your workplace is an environment where you can attract that great talent, and then your workplace is also an environment that gives people some free time, some free space, right, outside of their day-to-day job to continuously learn as well. Because it's not good enough just to bring people in, we need to continuously evolving them if you're going to stay relevant.
Do you think there's a job to be done on building trust around some of the tools that we should be rolling out, bringing it back to the theme of this year's Fujitsu World Tour? Do you think there's still work to be done on the trust front?
Yeah, there is very much work to be done in that area. I mean, goes back to the question you said about who should be leading this change, which implies there is a division between business and technology. And the only way you're going to break that down is to try and remove that division between business and technology. If we look at the true essence of what digital is that everybody's referring to, digital is where there is no divide between business and technology. A digital strategy is actually a business strategy fully enabled by technology, enabling you to do things with technology you weren't previously able to do. Trust is a big part of that because people do form, if you like, a kind of relationship with the technology and the tools they use, whatever those tools may be. And if they trust those tools, particularly trusting the data, then they will use those tools seamlessly. If they don't trust the tools and don't trust the data, they will struggle. And then, of course, there's a trust issue between the business and IT. Business might be saying, IT don't understand what we do. IT are saying, the business don't understand the challenges we're facing, etc. So there's that trust issue to address as well.
Is there a particular technology you think we're going to see more of over the coming years as we sort of move to a more enabled workforce, or is it going to be spread across a whole myriad of technology?
I think it's quite a difficult question, really, because across the sort of devices, I mean, we all see people walking around with iPads and phones and laptops, and you do need to have that kind of seamless experience from kind of one device to another. So this is where we see a lot of the kind of intelligent workspace type technologies that enable you kind of a seamless experience across those devices, but also they give you much more like an app-centric like experience that you might be used to on your phone. So I think we're going to continue to see that, but we're going to see that go another level. So at the minute where it kind of serves you applications, I think it will drop down to kind of giving you the tasks, giving you the prioritization, and kind of abstracting that away a little bit from those underlying applications. So wouldn't it be great if you logged on in the morning and it said, right, you've got these opportunities in Salesforce, you've got these meetings with these customers to do today, you've got 5 expenses to report, you need to approve a purchase order, without going into any of those applications through a single portal. That'd be amazing. And that would take out so much like wasted time, for example. And we're already seeing that movement now starting to happen. So I think that's the kind of workspace side of things. And then I think when we talk about boundary-less organisations, this is more about the kind of the structure as well. So you're going to see less and less of those hierarchical structures. You're going to see much more kind of like fluidity in roles. So companies are embracing kind of agile ways of working, which means you need to be able to stand up a team, a multidiscipline team, very, very quickly. They need to have the right tools for that role at that time as well. So you're going to start seeing kind of that kind of role-based personalisation that people can just get. Then I also think that's when the collaboration tools like Teams, for example, so that you're together working on a single item of work, or your files are in there, or your shared knowledge is in there. You're going to see that more and more, actually, is my view.
I think the other thing that we're going to start to see is some of these, what are traditionally referred to as technology categories, blurring. So there's a lot of talk at the moment about AI, about artificial intelligence, and about RPA. They're kind of sitting out there as things that organizations will trial, they will invest in. What I think we're going to see over the next 18 months, probably out to 5 years, is things like that being embedded in the other tool sets, embedded in the tools that people use. So somebody won't do their normal work and then go off there and do a bit of work with AI. AI will be embedded in the task and activity support. The same for RPA, it will be embedded in that support.
Yeah.
Again, analytics is another one that will be embedded in real time. People won't go off and look at reports. That data will just be presented as and when they need it, probably supported by AI. So you're going to see that merging, and it means that the things we talked about in terms of productivity and creativity are enabled because the technology is finally able to take away the mundane tasks, the mundane activities, the repetitive that don't require the brilliance and talent that people can bring to the table that technology can't.
Yeah, it's like that kind of next best action, isn't it, in terms of your daily work. And I think that's quite an important point, actually, what you say around people. This is not about replacing people either in some of the kind of AI and RPA areas, which people are often kind of worried about. I think AI very much can often be kind of augmented intelligence as opposed to kind of artificial intelligence doing it for you. It's about giving you that kind of context and enabling you to make that decision. And particularly in certain areas where there may need to be a little bit of kind of a human sort of oversight rather than allowing the computer to do it all for you. Because
there's a heck of a lot of insight there, a lot of boardrooms watching. I imagine there's a lot of interest that's just been piqued by your comments. If you had one message for the boardrooms out there getting on this journey to better enable their workforces, what would it be?
I think my one message would be enabling your people is going to be key to your success.
Yeah, I would very echo the same thing, is start with people. If you want people to do different things, you have to change the way they think, you have to change the way they think, you have to change what they believe. You have to work on a process to take people on that journey. Technology is a part of that. Once you get that right, technology is really powerful and it will start to realise on its promise, but you have to do it with the people.
Nerys, Marcus, thank you so much for stopping by. Wow, there's a lot of advice and insight there for you all. I dare say there'll be some questions coming back to us. If you want to continue the conversation with Nerys and Marcus, do drop us a note on the social channels. We will facilitate an introduction for you. Still plenty more insight to come out of Fujitsu World Tour. By the time we finish today, we'd have brought you interviews covering AI, blockchain, quantum, security, multi-cloud, innovation, operational excellence, workplace, a trusted future, retail, connected world, public sector, financial services, and automation no less. Now, the purpose of these interviews is to help surface the answers and insight to the key problems your organisation is facing with technology right now. Thanks for watching.